It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, we talk a little bit about moving, maybe
moving on up.
that, or I'm kind of already in the country, so I'm not really moving to the country to eat a lot of peaches, but nonetheless, maybe some peanuts. But anyways, we'll talk a little bit about that and some mental health stuff as well. Mental Health Month. Right after these important messages.
The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Joyrider, the second book in our series. It focuses on helping you learn how to find joy in difficult times and to see how people with special needs also have some wonderfully special powers of encouragement. You can pre-order your copy at benandtravis.com/books.
I'm Travis Creasy, the pulpit minister at Riverside Church of Christ, campus minister at Riverside Christian Academy. And that is Ben Hayes, all-pro counselor with three-chord counseling, pulpit minister at Highland Park Church of Christ. You do a little stuff at Mars Hill too, right? I mean, let's do it all, touch all
just
the bases.
A little bit. Yeah, it's been pretty busy. Kind of thankful to be out for the summer. So we are finally on summer break, get a little bit of extra time for some other things, but it never feels like I do. It will be over in a heartbeat, and I'll be going, well, what did I do with all that extra spare time I said I had during the summer? So you probably know how that works, working in the school system and all the things that you have done for many years. And so just glad to kind of be able to hopefully enjoy a couple of months with the family a little bit more so.
Well, it's a little bit of a shift. You know, you do get that. I'll be hanging out with the kiddos while Whitney works a little bit through the summer. But we're going to keep them busy with vacation Bible schools, and we got sports camps they're going to go to at Riverside. And of course, Maywood will be coming up soon. I'm sure they'll also travel a little bit with me to Titus Camp. I think that's Jacksonburg's VBS. So my mom is definitely looking for more of an opportunity with them. And as we speak about all the things that are going on, that's on top of what Whitney and I have been doing the last few days, and that is decluttering our home and getting ready for a yard sale. And
Travis, why are you getting ready for a yard sale?
Well, after 18 years in Fayetteville, Tennessee, that's wild. Talk about over in a heartbeat. Like in my last chapel as an employee of Riverside, I did the Psalm 117, which is like 2 verses, which I love because it's, you know, the love of the Lord, his faith is everlasting. It's 2 verses. You get to chapter 119, and it seems like you've got the Psalm that is everlasting. But
yes.
Nothing lasts forever, right? And that was kind of the point, other than, of course, those qualities of God and eternity and all that stuff, which is really hard for us to wrap our mind around. But yes, I announced in the last 2 weeks at all the places that I work that I'll be moving to Dothan, Alabama, to be the pulpit minister for the Westgate Church of Christ there. And Whitney and I were talking about how she has never lived in a place for a long amount of time that was not somehow on Highway 231, 431. Albertville, 231, 431, I'm less than a mile from that highway out in front of me. And we'll go to church in Dothan on one of those highways way down there. So that's also why I mentioned peanuts. Yes.
That's crazy. Number one, I didn't really realize 431, 231 were somehow connected to to Albertville.
Yeah. But 431, like you get on Governor's there in Huntsville and just ride it, and it takes you right into Albertville. And that's kind of obviously the direct east. And then 431, 231 was really, and I may be botching this horribly, so please forgive me, was the highway to Florida. And that's Panama City people. Panama City people are like, yes, we know exactly where you're moving. And then non-Panama City people are like, where is
Where's that
that.
at?
And which is the odd part of it, because you and I have always been kind of Gulf Shores, Orange Beach. I've been to
Yeah.
Panama City. We went through and saw Chris Jones on the way down, but usually we're kind of going the other direction when we go to the beach. But yes, and yeah, so the plan is this summer finish out with Riverside through July, unless of course somebody comes up and buys our house out from under us, and then we'll figure something out if that's the case. But we're shooting to. I'll be preaching all that stuff, Lord willing, all the way through the summer, and then we'll kick off in August down in Dothan. And it's one of those things. Speaking of mental health. One of those things that kind of seems far away, and it's like not even real to some degree, because you're just so, and much of our life is this way, Ben. It's so like what's in front of me right now.
Yeah.
And you got to do the things. And that's what we've been doing all weekend. Kids have been over there your way with mom. And we've just been getting, there's yard sale pile, there's trash pile, and then there's get ready to get loaded up and moved. And it's just kind of a wild thing.
It's awesome that you guys have that opportunity, but I know that it's kind of bittersweet. I know what it feels like to go into a new work. You feel kind of refreshed. We'll get to that in a little bit about kind of, what you're excited about with it. But, I guess it would be hard to sum up in, a few minutes of a podcast what Riverside has meant to you guys. Cause I think I posted something after after it was announced that you guys have really poured your heart and soul into that school. And I think they've poured their heart and soul into you guys in a lot of ways because, it was there that you guys went through your adoption process. It was there that you went through your leukemia battle. It's been there that you have, won some major championships in football. I mean, you guys have had some real ups and downs, I guess, throughout those years. So, I guess I don't know what the right question is, but what would you say are some of the more memorable moments, or maybe just what has the school in general meant for you in those 18 years?
Well, the funny part is like outside of you, Mom, and Whitney, there's no one that's had to put up with me as long as Riverside has.
That's accurate.
And so, I mean, they take this twerp kid that doesn't know anything, and he just so happens to marry the best thing going, and that's helped them put up with me. And I think in my post on Facebook, I said, it's hard to say goodbye to a place you're going to take with you the rest of your life. I mean, the things that you learn. The things.
And did you guys get married after you went there?
Yes. So I came in 2007. And Whitney actually, she would drive up. She was still at Freed at the time, and she would drive over on Fridays and work for the school, doing some things. So she was kind of employed, and then we got married in May of 2008 after my first year at Riverside.
Man, that blows my mind. I forgot that. I was thinking you were still somewhere else. So they've even seen you as single and as married. So
yes, which is even more impressive that they've put up with me. But it's kind of
that old adage. It's not impressive that they put up with you after you got married, because everybody knows they put up with you.
Yes. So. The deal Silher is what I like to call her, heavy on the her, HER, her. But yeah, I mean, you take that, we hear it, one day if you keep trying, you'll make a preacher, and Riverside has felt the brunt of that. And, I've just learned so much, and I've learned more from them than they could ever learn from me, other than maybe what not to do. So, yeah, I mean, the adoption, the church there, it's not a large congregation, probably, 80, 100, maybe 120 members. And man, they just start the school. There's not anything they're afraid of. They really trust and have faith in God, even with all this going on, they have trust and confidence. And I just feel like, man, it's a blessing to, Ben, you think of ministers, it doesn't always end well. Right. and to know that you're loved by these people and they really want you to stay. And then you got this group of people that really wants you and has no evidence to want you, but they do.
Right.
That's a great situation. A lot of preachers don't get, and to be able to kind of be like, okay, we can kind of leave and finish. We want to finish our contract, through July, and everybody's on board with that. Like, please, that would be amazing. And we don't want to miss the blessing that we've had to be in a place that's loved us so much, and they're not running us out of town,
Yeah.
So
that's an amazing part of it. Like you said, in this situation is there was no wrong answer, and that's where that's both good and bad. And I've said this on many occasions. I loved my work at Pine Hill, and then I loved my work at Petersville. I loved my work at Eva. I love my work at Highland Park now. And I loved the church at Jacksonburg that we grew up in. And there's been so many times I've wished, why can't we just have all the churches in one place so that I can, keep those relationships strong with all of those people, because there's people in every one of those places that I still absolutely love and adore. And, the truth is they will all be gathered to one place at some point, but it's just not right now. And that's where it's hard. And so I realize that, you're leaving and taking with you a big piece of your life, was there at RCA. And I hope that I get to continue to have some connections with the school there. It's kind of been a cool thing to be able to see it and understand what all it does. But you're going south. So now that you go to Dothan, what are you looking forward to?
I'm thinking today, Ben, our first spiritual emphasis day at Riverside was you and Wes Howell. And so one of the great benefits of moving to Dothan is that is where Wes Howell lives. And I think that he's a member at Westgate, but I think he preaches for another church. One of those deals where you fill in and you're just filling in for a long period of time. I may have some of the stats on that backwards, but obviously Wes is a great guy. And I just thought that today. I was like, well, that's really neat. Ben and Wes Howell were my first invites to the first spiritual emphasis day at Riverside 18 years ago. And so, I think I love to preach, right? And loving something doesn't mean you're necessarily great at it. But I do love it and I enjoy it. And I look forward to kind of getting more time to focus on that aspect. Not that when you teach Bible 5 hours a day, the sermons kind of write themselves at some point. You get to Sunday. But that's exciting. It's exciting to see, how much can I be like Ben Hayes? How much can I learn? And, I want to be trained. I want to learn to do things as well, and you mentioned the stuff at Riverside. I've got to do pretty much, and this, in some ways, this will sound sad at 44. Maybe my list wasn't big enough, but I've got to do pretty much everything I've ever wanted to do. When I was a kid, you probably remember me saying, I want to coach football and teach. And I got to do both those things. And I guess you could say relatively new love for me is preaching, maybe relative compared to other people and how long they've preached. But if you'd asked me at 18, 19, 20, are you going to be preaching full time? I would have been like, no, why would I do that? Why would I put myself through that? And now, Ben, I can't really see myself doing anything else. I think even if it wasn't a part of my job, whatever that is, if we want to call it that, I would still be doing it. So that's exciting. You and I are not afraid to meet new people. And I enjoy that opportunity. And they've got quite a few ministers on staff. And so I'm just kind of looking forward to encouraging those folks and helping them and being a part of that family down there. And it's kind of wild because, I'm from Northwest Alabama. I worked in Albertville, Northeast Alabama. You and I have been to the beach. We know Ray. We know several folks down in Southwest Alabama, and I knew one person in Southeast Alabama, and they moved to Birmingham, and that's why I'm moving down there to Dothan. Not because they moved to Birmingham, but because they left the work down there. So
well, and we're not completely unaware of that part because we used to go to Wiregrass. Yeah. So
yeah.
we did some time at Wiregrass a couple of summers, and those are some pretty awesome memories. And so a lot of the Moulton folks from up here in North Alabama did Wiregrass. Wes Howell was one of those. I worked with Wes at Petersville. And so we took off to South Alabama every now and then to do Wiregrass, and you went with us some. And so got to know some of the folks down there, but I think it's really cool. You're going to get to, be down there a little bit closer to Wiregrass, and, have some opportunity for your kids to be involved there too. So,
yeah. And probably the number two question outside of where is Dothan, and once again, the Panama City people knew where Dothan was. That was the fun part. Some of them would answer for me, before I could answer where Dothan was. Is Ben and Travis, is that still going to happen? And I said, I reckon the internet still works. I think
that's exactly right.
I think Dothan's larger than Fayetteville, so I think the internet will be fine. So yes, the Ben and Travis, it may look a little different. We may have to slow down a little bit, but we received the invite a few weeks ago for some CYC, so that's still on the docket. We're looking to do all that stuff. So you can't get rid of us that easily, for sure.
Well, yeah, we can always do this via the internet, no matter where we're at. So the podcast will continue. Some of the trips that we have enjoyed getting to take by, I pick you up in Fayetteville or vice versa. You come this way and then we go. That might not be happening quite as much unless somebody invites us, on a really long car ride, and we might
private plane. I mean, you could always fly us in, right?
That'd be great. But yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be still going to be a lot of opportunities for us to do stuff, and I'm excited for your work and what you're going to get to do. And I guess the biggest question is, I mean, do you like peanuts? And in general, do you like boiled peanuts? Because you're going to the land of boiled peanuts.
I love boiled peanuts. In fact, we went to, the Red Elephant, which, hey, I didn't expect that over there in Auburn country, but it's a great restaurant. The pizza is top notch, and they had boiled peanuts that you could order as an appetizer. And so we took part. But yes, I do love boiled peanuts. I like peanuts any way you make them, unless they're too hot, and then I would just give them over to you.
Cajun ones. I like the Cajun ones. Well,
Cajun
I mean, you're
not so bad either.
You're going to the land of the only statue that honors an insect in the whole world.
Yes.
So you're going to be down there close to Enterprise, where there is a boll weevil monument, because the cotton farmers ran into some issues with boll weevils, and so they decided to plant peanuts that year, and now it's the land of peanuts.
Land of peanuts. In fact, you get to Dothan, and there are peanut statues at the different businesses.
Yes,
these aren't serious statues. The people who made them may think
they paint them different ways and stuff.
Yeah, based on whatever they're selling at that company. I saw, I think, a wiener dog peanut. That was kind of odd. But anyways, it's going to be a new adventure, exciting, and certainly we would appreciate anyone's prayers in the transition and for both places, because we want the best for both. And as Miss Mays says, big things are happening at Riverside, and the best is yet to come. So we fully believe that. Ben, it is May. It's not June yet when this comes out. Actually, it'll be tomorrow when this comes out. It's still Mental Health Month. And as we run hurriedly around and pray for our house to sell, in not too quickly, but not too slow, when we think of mental health, what are some ways that you or maybe you suggest to others to kind of keep mentally on your toes? Does that work? I mean, my brain, my toes, I guess it's all connected at some point. But, maybe sharpen the skills a little bit, as we get older, maybe cognitively. What are some things we can do to kind of stay up and about and keep our brain sharp?
Well, I wish that I knew all those ways, because then maybe mine would be a little sharper. Sometimes I struggle with that some, and I know one way that I've heard that you can do that. You do this a whole lot more than I do. Is Magic Mind helps a little bit with that. And I know you've kind of done that a little more than I have with it. But those are some ways to kind of, there's a lot of things like that, like, other supplements that you can take with it. But as far as just, everyday work that you do, I think, one of the biggest things is rest. And, we talked about that. We've talked about that a couple of times. I think I've talked about that on the podcast, the Friday Refresh podcast. And I'm not always
80th episode, by the way, 80th episode of the Friday Refresh just dropped last week. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I didn't realize it had been that many when you said that. But I think, we need rest. We need to be able to just take some time. And I think rest comes in a lot of different ways. I'm reading a book right now that's on that specifically. Maybe I can share some of the stuff from it at some point. But rest is not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even. Sabbath was a big thing, and it was an important thing. God rested, and he told man to rest, and it wasn't because it was some. It wasn't just because it was a holy day, but because it was for man. He wanted land to rest. He wanted man to rest. He wanted animals to rest. And so I really think that's a big key to longevity is, making sure that you can slow down, focus in on the things around you. I talk about mindfulness a lot with clients, because if I'm anxious, be mindful, slow down. If I'm depressed, be mindful of the things around you, that even the blessings that are around you. And so just sometimes just slowing down and noticing the things around you is going to be something that I think is helpful to us long term.
Absolutely. You've helped me tremendously when I was going through treatments, when those kiddos came to our house and we had no idea what to do. Certainly those things, rest was key. I know that when Daniel came and he would not sleep in the room with anyone. And, finally I got to Whitney. I was like, we got to sleep. If we have to move downstairs and we leave him in our bedroom, that's what we'll do. That's what we did. And he slept like a charm. He wanted to just be left alone. And it's amazing how much a better parent you are, teacher, employee, employer, if you're getting enough rest. And sometimes it may not be sleep. It may just let your brain stop and rest. And hopefully all of you are getting that opportunity as summer rolls around in some shape, form, or fashion. And we certainly do appreciate it. Once again, I'll ask everyone for their prayers in this transition window, that things happen obviously according to God's will. We just hope that his will, as we always do, is in line with what we want, right? And then if it's not, then we'll just get over it, and we'll realize, and we have trust that his timing's perfect. So,
well, I've said on several occasions, I don't know that God's will works in such a way that where we say, well, is it God's will for me to move to Dothan, or God's will for me to be at RCA, or God's will for me to be somewhere else? I'm not sure that it works as much that way as it does. It's God's will that you seek first the kingdom of God. And you can do that whether you're in Dothan, or you can do that whether you're in Fayetteville.
As you go.
Wherever you go. Yeah.
So often our feet are, it's just where we find ourselves. Be where your feet are, right? A little more mindfulness there. I like how you did that, Ben. I know you did it on purpose. I know that was on purpose, and that was where you're heading. But appreciate everybody. Hope you have a great week. And of course, I cannot believe, shame on us. We hope that your Memorial Day was one of those days of rest as you remember and honor those who've made the greatest sacrifice so that we can make podcasts like this and talk about God openly and freely and the freedom they defended, whether they would agree with us or not. We appreciate their sacrifice and want to make sure we honor them. But we hope that your Memorial Day was great doing just that. And we hope you certainly get some rest, and we'll talk at you again later.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.